Now for global business updates, Rotus Odiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning to all our viewers out there. We begin with the Eurozone. Financial Times with a survey where they spoke with a number of economists asking them whether they think the Eurozone is already in recession. 2/3 of them responded saying that yes, they believe that it is actually in a recession already. About 66% of those responding to the poll. I think we got a quote from one of them, who was trying to put up a silver lining in the outlook for the Eurozone as far as 2024 is concerned. So in one of those quotes, he was saying, and I think this is, he's head of BNP Paribas, Paul Hollingsworth, his chief European economist, says we will not describe this as a fully fledged recession. Instead, we will still characterize this as stagnation. We continue to see a gradual recovery in 2024 rather than further deterioration. If you look at the projections for growth in 2024, the survey is the most bearish of the three. So the IMF, of course, they are the most optimistic, 1.2% growth for the Eurozone in 2024. Then you've got the ECB, the European Central Bank, at 0.8%, and then the survey of economists at 0.6. So if you're going forward from there, there's more about the Eurozone in terms of, how is the economy going to what storm is that the economy is going to face? The headwinds, the main threats to the economy were Trump and Putin. So essentially, they're talking about a Trump presidency and what a trade war could mean for the Eurozone. And if Ukraine loses the war to Russia, that's going to be a headwind as well. Now, of course, one of the breaking news this morning, of course, is that the EU is planning a 20 billion aid package that they want to try and push through to support Ukraine. But then here's a quote from another economist that drives the point home. Holger Schmeiden, chief economist at Berenberg. He says if Trump comes in and the US abandons Ukraine and threatens the EU with a trade war, Europe and the world would suffer more than the United States. So tepid outlook for the Eurozone in terms of where 2024 is. We go to global banks. The FT's research department did some calculations to say global banks cut about, the biggest ones, the 20 biggest ones, cut about 60,000 jobs in 2023. And essentially, much of this was Credit Suisse going under, and then UBS taking over Credit Suisse, and then UBS saying that there will be further job cuts as the takeover moves forward. But then there was also a lot of investment banks whose returns were hurt by higher interest rates, and so they commenced job cuts in order to trim their staff numbers and essentially reduce their overheads. One particular big bank that comes to mind is Citigroup. Citigroup has embarked on a very, very ambitious job-cutting measure in order to right the ship over there. So that's what we're seeing on the Wall Street front. Over in the biotechnology space, we're seeing some really big deals that are taking place, particularly with, before I get to biotechnology, this is pretty notable. Intel is planning a $25 billion factory for a chip plant in Israel. This is Israel that is in the middle of a war. Israel has also, to incentivize Intel, they've given them $3.2 billion grants, which is, it was the same thing they got in Germany. Intel, of course, is building plants across the country, across the continents, different continents in the US, in Europe, in order to challenge AMD and NVIDIA. Here's a quote from the finance minister of Israel, where he says this investment, at a time when Israel wages war against utter wickedness, a war in which good must defeat evil, is an investment in the rights and righteous values that spell progress for humanity. That's Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister. Incredible to be able to be getting this kind of money coming in at a time when you're fighting a war. It just says, and of course, Intel has a presence in Israel. They've been there for a while. They already have existing factories there. The whole diversification of supply chains, they're still doing it. So as I was saying, okay, so biotech now, Rufai was earlier talking about the advancements in modern medicine to where, the former speaker that passed at 65, where he's saying he's very young. Yeah. So this is an example of this. So AstraZeneca is going into cell therapy. They've purchased this Gracell Biotechnologies, which is in China, for $1.2 billion. Gracell is into what's called CAR T cell therapy. This is late-stage cancer therapy where they extract T cells, which are cancer-fighting cells, from the human body, reinvigorate them, and then put them back in. Massive deals are taking place there in terms of the movements and or evolution, if you want to call it that, of biotech. There's another deal, I think it's Bristol Myers. Bristol Myers is buying a biotech from RaceBio for $4.1 billion. They're using this radiotherapy also in the cancer field to fight cancer cells. So there's a lot of massive deals that are taking place in the biotechnology space, and these deals are essentially shining a light on the advancements that are being made. There's a lot of competition there. Bristol Myers, they bought a company that makes a drug for schizophrenia on Friday last week for $14 billion. So they've announced two massive deals now, at almost $20 billion now, in a matter of days. So 2023, even as we round up, we're still seeing some massive deals in the biotechnology space. And I think finally we round up with the Naira, which unfortunately, as at yesterday, closed on the black market 1,023. So just as a reminder, and this is, I don't think it's very wise to talk about where the fair value of the Naira should be. So remember Wale Edun at his screening saying that if the liquidity we're expecting comes in, we should see fair value at 700. And Taiwo Oyedele said that he gave an interview to Bloomberg.
Which he had no right to say. I mean, Taiwo is my guy, but he had no right
it's not,
to say this.
I mean, no, you can. I just don't think it's wise to do it publicly.
You should have left it for even the CBN people to talk about it.
Right.
As a tax person, Taiwo had, as a leader of
Taiwo is part of it. He heads a committee that is on taxes and revenues coming in. So if you can get in more revenues, hopefully, in dollar terms, you can protect your currency. But still, I just don't think it's, if you ask me to project the value of the Naira, I'm not going to do it publicly. I mean, it's just not wise, because here we're at 1,230 now, and those 700, 650 projections have gone, they've sunk.
So, a story I want to bring up, and Rotus, I was telling you, and Mele did it, and he has outdone himself now. He's put himself in a cul-de-sac.
Who, Argentina's president?
The nation is almost on fire. In the bid of cutting everything, and I keep saying, don't cut too much, don't cut too much. He has going to cut the yearly contract of 7,500 people that work in government.
Yes, to cut costs.
Be hearing, which has caused a blowback in the state of the economy. You're going to see the eruption in days to come. Okay. Secondly, I'll tell you why investors don't come to Nigeria. They're talking about this fund. It's apart from insecurity. The cost of doing business is so high. I'm not sure if you got a wind of it. Results were released recently that the telecommunications sector made 3 trillion in revenue. 2 trillion was spent in cost of running business. It's almost unbelievable. There's a high reward, but there's also a high, humongous amount in running those businesses. Take, for instance, I was looking at the line item for the internet business. Close to over 70% of the revenue made in that sector was spent on the cost of running business. But you see, why they are going to countries like Israel, despite the war and insecurity, is that look at what the Israeli minister has done. The government, they've put 3.2 billion naira down. Dollars to hedge you. I love the naira so much. I keep all my assets in the naira. I'm proudly Nigerian.
You should diversify.
I don't have dollars.
No.
I'm pro the naira. I'm saying that on air.
I'm not sure it means sarcastic.
So you're saying I should diversify. These are people that don't love the naira. I love the naira. So as I was saying, they put 3.2 billion down. So say, you know what, this is a hedge for a $20 billion or $25 billion investment. So they are telling you that come what may, we're ready for this. Ask our government, is it a government that we've not been able to find the 10 billion we promised many months ago to be able to stabilize the Naira? What are we giving in return? We can't keep saying Nigeria is a good investment destination. It's a lovely place. It's a good rate of return and all of that. But it has shown that yes, even if you have great rate of return on your investment, the cost of doing business is eating into your revenue lines.
True, that's true.
So that's why investors are not coming here. That's why you see that despite the war-torn Israel, investors are going there because they are looking at the cost of doing business. And I think it's a conversation we should have in the new year.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well, beyond Israel, I know Intel also has plans to expand into Europe and the United States. However, why this is significant, of course, is that they're investing at a time of war in southern Israel. Usually, this wouldn't be the case because of instability, security situation. But like Rufai has mentioned, perhaps the Israeli government gave them an offer they couldn't resist, or a support they couldn't resist. And so, whilst pumping in $3.2 billion, it's also the impact on the Israeli community in terms of expanding the manufacturing business. But beyond that, again, just to say, like, some lessons to learn. One of the things that we have advocated consistently on this show is how to not just talk about making Nigeria the investor's dream or investor destination. It's actually putting work into the talk. So we've gone to different international conferences in the last few months last year and signed some great deals and looking to sign some more deals. However, are we well positioned to receiving these investments? I mean, we want to see that happen. By the way, Rufai, I know it's being patriotic to keep your investments in Naira, but also it's a wise. I understand where Rotus is coming from as
Diversify,
well. When it comes to wisdom in an investment, and not just about I think it's really key.
But spread it out.
I think it's really key, and we look forward to seeing Intel share. Appreciate.
It climbed. It was up like 2-3% yesterday.
Exactly. So appreciate based on these on this new deals.
Okay, the Naira. Many people had predicted since June, when the federal government of Nigeria decided to harmonize, the exchange corridor, that look, by December, it was predicted that the Naira will be exchanging for 1,000 to the dollar. Now we're seeing by Christmas, it was over 1,200.
Doctor almost said 2,000.
Well, you never know. We could get there.
Exactly.
You never know. 1,233. Well, could it be because the official market was closed because of holidays? Some people may argue that way. But what we know is that, all the managers of our foreign exchange regime, they promised that they will address the problem of supply. They've not been able to do so. The Naira just continues on a steady slide. Because again, our old argument here, all the indicators are not right within the Nigerian economy. Because the irony here, of course, is that at the time the dollar is under heavy pressure, and there are expectations that in the first quarter, there will be rate cuts by the Federal Reserve. See, the Naira can't even stand up, against the dollar. But it's a problem that they will need to still address. How? I have no clue. They have to address it because of the costs implications. If the Naira keeps falling, then of course the cost of doing everything in this economy will just remain prohibitive. Now, talking about rate costs, you recall that when we had the latest inflation positions from the US, from Bank of England, from the Eurozone, they all kept the rate steady. Yep. Now, the Americans were very enthusiastic. There was excitement, Christmas cheer in the markets in the US. Now, because everybody was looking forward to rate cuts next year. But Andrew Bailey in England said, no, wait a moment, we may still need to increase rates. In the Eurozone, Christine Lagarde said, no, the time has not come yet to be very enthusiastic. Now the economists that you said were polled, they are even far more pessimistic, than the projections from IMF and from the ECB, because they are saying that, to use your phrase, that growth in the Eurozone will be tepid because wages will go up, inflation will go up, high interest rates will also follow. But in any case, generally, the projection is that this year, the economy globally has been able to do maybe about 2.9%. In other words, it may not do better next year. So these are conversations about inflation, rate cuts, interest rates. We will still continue.
Of course, into the new year.
In January. But I thought you were going to bring up the case of Apple. Apple having, patent dispute with Massimo and Concacor. That's the medical company over its Apple Series 2 and Ultra 9. that, you know, Massimo is saying that Apple stole technology, stole its workers. And in October, the U.S. International Trade Commission had halted imports and sales of those two commodities. Apple had said, well, give us some respite. But even the president, who had a 60-day window within which you could lift the restriction, did not do so. And Ambassador Catherine Tai, that's the U.S. trade representative, has also been quoted as saying, you know, based on further investigations, they thought that the integrity of the patent system needs to be protected. I think that's a big lesson from that. But there could be a review in January because Apple is saying that it has modified, you know, its design, and that on the basis of that there should be a reconsideration. But what it means is that in serious economies, you know, the patent system is something that is important, not just for the integrity of that system, but also of the markets and competition within the market. Well, thank you very much, Rotus.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rotus. We'll see you tomorrow.